Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another video. What we're going to be doing today is we'll be looking at our Week 7 college football games, but looking at our Week 7 potential upset alert picks. So these are top 25 matchups where the favorite team could potentially go down this weekend, are upset alerts. I'm not saying that they will go down. I'm just saying there's a potential that it might happen. They definitely must take that game serious because the team could be there to upset them in Week 7. The games are getting really good. Teams are starting to get deeper into conference play. Let's go ahead and break those ones down, but make sure first that you hit that like button, that you subscribe. If you have any comments on these games or anything else, drop it below and I will respond. Every week we go over every single college football game. We also do the same thing for every NFL game as well. If you're a football fan, if you're a college football fan, pro football fan, or just a sports fan, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed so you can follow along with us. So there's 7 matchups that I chose out of our top 25. Let's start running through them. The very first one should stand out as no surprise. The Red River rivalry, the Red River shootout, whatever makes you feel good to call it, at 3:30 p.m. on ABC, one of the best games of every year. Number 1 Texas Longhorns, undefeated 5-0. They'll be playing number 18, 4-1 Oklahoma Sooners. Both teams coming off the bye, both teams well rested. Both teams had some things that they needed to work on. For the Texas Longhorns, the biggest question is who's going to be starting the game at the quarterback position. Quinn Ewers was their star, Heisman-leading quarterback. He's been down the last couple weeks. He's a first-round draft pick. This is a really good quarterback. Arch Manning has stepped in perfectly fine. He's been slinging the ball, but it's been obvious that he's been great, but he's not Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers is a veteran. He's been playing for years. He's played his biggest moments in the biggest games. Think Washington last season, think Alabama last season, think Michigan this season. Whenever he's on the biggest stage, he has his best game. You would rather have him here for this game because he's a veteran. Manning's fine. You can win with Manning, but he's only started a couple games. You don't want the first true defense he sees to be Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry because the upset could happen. They could get some turnovers, and their defense should be capable of keeping this game close. Looking at the favorability here, Texas has an 85.1% chance to win this game. 14-point favorites. The over-under is 50.5. Texas, they are loaded. They have the number 4 overall roster according to ESPN. They have Manning, Ewers, Blue, Bond. They can beat you on offense. They can beat you throwing, running. They can beat you on defense. They're averaging 45 points a game, 326.4 through the air, 191.4 on the ground. A very balanced team and an elite top 10 defense, only giving up 7 points per game. For the Sooners, this is a defensively focused team. They're averaging 28.6. Seth Littrell and the offense, they have a lot to work on right now. Obviously, they've been shuffling quarterbacks. They had Jackson Arnold. He didn't start out the season very well. They brought in Hawkins Jr. The guy's a freshman. He's going to be starting this Saturday. That's a lot to ask for a freshman. Red River rivalry, only played a couple snaps this season. That's going to be rough. That is in Texas's favor. But really, Jackson Arnold doesn't give them any better chance. Right now, Oklahoma, they average 184 through the air, 128 on the ground. But it's their defense that draws this game into question. They're only giving up 16 points a game. The best defense that Manning has seen his college career yet. If it's Manning starting. If it's Ewers, he won't be worried. But Brent Venables is going to throw everything that he has at Manning because it is going to be looks that he hasn't seen yet since he's been in college. Oklahoma right now is number 7 in total sacks for college football. If they're going to get after it, pressures, hurry, sacks, it's Manning playing versus a great defense that could potentially set this up for the upset. But I have Texas pulling it off. I have Texas still winning this one 30-20. The next matchup where the favorite team needs to be on upset alert, 3:30 p.m. on CBS, number 4, Penn State 5-0 versus 3-2 USC Trojans. Lincoln Riley cannot afford to drop to 500 at this point of the season as they're going into Big Ten play. Right now, Penn State has a 48.1% chance to win this game. 4-point favorite. Over-under here is 50.5. Penn State, they have a new offense, new scheme. Franklin Scott has been prospering in the new offense. Drew Aller having a great season so far, closing in on 1,200 yards. They have one of the best 2 running back punches. They have Singleton. They have Allen, a great 1-2 punch. They're going to keep it on the ground. They're going to try to out-physical the Trojans. They have Warren as their leading wide receiver. USC, Lincoln Riley, the best offensive mind in all of college football. That's where the upset potentially comes in here. If they have the ball last, they're more than capable of going down the field and scoring. They have Moss, Marks, Lane, Branch, lots of offensive talent. They're averaging 30.8 points a game, throwing for 302, running for 150, and their defense is still top 25. They're only giving up 18.4 points a game. What D'Anton Lynn has done in one offseason with their defense is incredible. USC's defense will not flinch here, but will they be able to perform in the fourth quarter after a very physical, run-focused first three quarters? I have Penn State avoiding the upset here, winning this one 27-24, but you definitely see how USC could potentially get this game. Their defense could keep it close. One possession, they get the ball last, they go down, score the touchdown, win. That possibility's there, but I think Penn State's defense delivers them the game in the fourth quarter. The next potential upset game at 7 p.m. on ESPN, 3-2 Florida Gators playing number 8 Tennessee Volunteers, 4-1. I'm not saying Tennessee's going to be upset here, but they must take this game serious. This is obviously one of the biggest rivalries in all of college football, and Tennessee's coming off of a loss. How do they respond? How do they mentally respond? Nico has not had his best games the last 2 games. Josh Heupel has to get everyone back on track, circle the wagons, get the offense sorted out. They haven't scored over 25 points the last 2 games. Florida right now is actually riding hot right now. They've been playing pretty good on offense, and their defense is much, much improved over last season. They've been running a 2-quarterback system, and they have Lagway, and they have Mertz. They're averaging 30.2. They're throwing for 276.4. They're running for 142.6, and their defense is giving up 24.4 points a game. That might not be earth-shattering, but that's really improved over their defense last season, and they've played really good the last couple games. Florida's feeling that they can win this game. Billy Napier has to win this game. He has the worst second half to any season schedule I've ever seen. They could lose 4 or 5 games straight. He has to get a bowl game. He has to get an upset somewhere. He's playing for his job right now. The team is playing for him to keep his job, but obviously the cards are stacked against him. Tennessee needs to get everything back on track. Right now they're averaging 46 points a game. They're throwing for 258.6. They're running for 267.2. Probably the most rounded offense in all of college football, but it's their defense. They're only giving up 9.4 points per game. That's a top 10 defense, and they are also top 10 in sacks. They're going to get after the Gator quarterbacks here. There is a talent gap here. Tennessee is the better team. They are 15-point favorites. They have a 50. There's a 55 over-under on this game. That's a pretty big spread for a rivalry game. Can Tennessee avoid the upset? I think they do. I have Tennessee winning this one 34-17. After last week, though, Tennessee is not invincible. They showed their vulnerabilities. Florida has the talent to be able to take advantage of that. Bama showed never take these SEC games for granted or you might get beat. That's where the upset potential comes in, but I think Josh Heupel and his play calling abilities makes the difference, and the offense gets things back on track second half versus Florida. The next game we're looking at is the game of the weekend, 7:30 p.m. NBC, number 2 versus number 3. Number 2, Ohio State Buckeyes 5-0 undefeated. They'll be playing number 3, Oregon Ducks 5-0 undefeated. What a great game. Our new Big Ten rivalry matchup. The Buckeyes have a 63.7% chance to win this game, but very slight favorites. 3-point favorites. Over-under here is 53.5. Both of these teams, both of them, have top 5 rosters according to ESPN. They are loaded. And I'm not going to lie, this is probably just the first time that they play this season. I would not be surprised if they rematch in the Big Ten championship game and also potentially a third time in the playoffs. I have both of these teams making the Big Ten championship. I have both of them making the playoffs no matter what happens this game. But obviously, you want to win this game. You want to win the Big Ten. You want to get the bye week, make the playoffs. But this game puts whoever wins it in the driver's seat. And just as a cherry on top, whoever wins this game could potentially catapult to number 1 in next week's poll. The Buckeyes, we know they're loaded. They have Will Howard. They have Quinton Junkins. They have Henderson, probably the best running back room in the nation, and they follow that up with the best wide receiver core in the nation. They have Egbuka. They have the freshman Jeremiah Smith. They are loaded. Chip Kelly calling plays. Knowles on defense. Ryan Day as the head coach. They might have the best coaching staff in the country right now. They average 46 points a game. They throw for 293.4. They run for 222.8. As good as those numbers are, that's not what leads this team. It's their defense. They're only giving up 6.8 points a game. The number 1 defense in the nation right now. They had the number 3 defense last year. They brought back 8 starters, and they added to it through the portal. They had the number 1 defense. They're going to get after it. They're only giving up 72.6 rushing yards per game. That is ridiculous. They're going to shut the Ducks' running game down. That's their goal. Force Dillon Gabriel to have to beat them vertically through the air. That's their game plan. Get pressure on the quarterback, force them to make bad decisions, but Oregon is loaded. They have Dillon Gabriel, they have James, they have Trey Johnson, they have Stewart, they have playmakers. They have a top 10 offense, they have a top 10 defense. They're not going to slouch, they're not going to take a step back from the Buckeyes. Right now, the Ducks average 35 points a game. They throw for 305.2, they run for 164.4, and a top 20 defense overall, giving up 17 points a game. They're getting better every week. Their biggest weakness has been their offensive line so far. They haven't been getting Dillon Gabriel enough time to vertically push the ball down the field. He's been rushed. He's been performing great, but they've been dunking it. That's not going to work versus the Buckeyes. You're going to have to push the ball. You're going to have to be aggressive. The offensive line is going to have to give him time, and that's directly versus the Buckeye strength, which is their D-line getting pressure. So it's strength on strength. This game will be decided in the trenches at the line of scrimmage. I have the Buckeyes defense making the difference in the fourth quarter, them winning this one 30-23. So I have them avoiding the upset here, but this game is one of the most 50-50 games in the country right now. If the Ducks win, I would in no way be surprised. And it really doesn't matter because you're going to rematch whoever loses. So it's hard to beat a good team twice in one season. If it's the Buckeyes, you get a chance to replay the Ducks in the Big Ten Championship, vice versa. But you obviously want to take this first one, put yourself in the driver's seat going forward. But this is a matchup of 2 of the best teams in the nation right now. This next matchup is an under-the-radar sneaky one at 7:30 p.m. on ABC. Number 9, Ole Miss 5-1. They had that loss to Kentucky, so they are vulnerable. They showed where they are vulnerable, but they rebounded this past weekend. They beat the crap out of the Gamecocks. But they'll be on the road here versus number 13, LSU 4-1 coming off the bye. They should be healthy, fully rested. This is going to be a shootout right here. Right now, Ole Miss has a 67.6% chance to win this game. 3.5-point favorites. That's a very close spread. The over-under 61.5. There's going to be a lot of touchdowns. The upset alert potential comes into the fact that this is 2 teams that can score. They can score at will. This game could easily come down to just whoever has the ball last winning the game. But when you look at Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin's team is extremely talented on both sides of the ball, and they threw all their chips in this season. They threw everything they had in to make the playoffs this season, potentially make the national championship. They brought in the number 1 transfer portal class. They have Jackson Dart leading everything. He has 2,100 yards right now, 13 touchdowns, 2 picks. They have Henry Parrish Jr. closing in on 600 yards rushing. They have Trey Harris closing in on 900 yards receiving through the first 6 games. Video game numbers on the offensive side. They throw for 383.2. They run for 204, but their defense is only giving up 7.5 points a game, only 63.7 rushing yards. This defense matches the talent of the offense, but how are they going to perform versus what is now the best offense that they will have played so far this season? You have LSU. They average 35.2. They throw for 342.6. They run for 130.4. Their defense is not great. It's not bad. It's much improved last season. They added Blake Baker. He has made the difference. They're only giving up 21.6. But this is the best offense that they will have played this season. Both of these teams can score. LSU is more than capable of winning this one in a close one. They have Brian Kelly, great coach. They have a improved defense. They have a good offense. But I'm going to go with Ole Miss. I think they're going to pull it out, but I think it's going to be a one-possession win. I have the Rebels winning this one 38-30 and avoiding the upset, but there's going to be a lot of points, and it's going to be fun to watch. The next one's a Big 12 on Big 12 matchup on Fox at 8 p.m. Number 11, Iowa State, undefeated 5-0, just outside the top 10. If they win this game, they could find themselves in the top 10 next week. They'll be playing 3-2 West Virginia, who is much better than their record. Do not sleep on the Mountaineers here. Right now, it is Iowa State who has a 54.6% chance to win this game. A lot of 3-point spreads here. They are 3-point favorites. The over-under is 53.5. Iowa State, Matt Campbell's team is talented. They can throw it. They can run it. But it's their physicality on both lines that makes a difference in every single game. They have the best defense in the Big 12. one of the best defenses in the country, a top 10 defense. They're only giving up 10 points per game. They have Becht at the quarterback position. He is a veteran quarterback. He's a smart quarterback. He's not going to make too many mistakes. But West Virginia, they have a hot hand right now. They have Green. They have Donaldson Jr. They have Clement. They're averaging 33 points a game. They're throwing for 225.8. They're running for 223. That's about as balanced as it could be. And their defense is giving up 25.6. This is an upset game because West Virginia and Neil Brown, they won 9 games last season. They disappointed to start this season. But like I mentioned, they're much better than their 3-2 record. I'm calling upset here. I have West Virginia ending Iowa State's win streak, winning this one close. 27-24, winning it at home. Iowa State is more than capable of winning this game. I don't have them going undefeated this season, though. At some point, they have to drop one. I'm picking that this is it, but I still have Iowa State probably making the Big 12 championship, and obviously, if they win that, they're going to make the playoffs. They have a great defense. And this next one's going to be a fun one. Please stay up to watch this at 10:15 p.m. on ESPN. Number 18, Kansas State, 4-1. They'll be playing 4-1 Colorado Buffaloes. Right now, Kansas State, 52.1% chance to win this game. And another close spread, 3.5-point favorites, over-unders 56.5. This is going to be a really good matchup. Whoever wins this game could also potentially find themselves in a great position to win the Big 12. Kansas State cannot afford to drop this game. They've already lost to BYU. If they lose this game, that would be their second Big 12 loss. So that might put them completely out of the running to make the Big 12 championship. They have Avery Johnson. He's the highest recruited quarterback coming out of high school in Kansas State history. He can throw it, but he's known for his running ability. He runs with purpose. Every time he scrambles, it's 15, 20 yards. They have DJ Giddens, one of the top 10 running backs in the nation, closing in on 700 yards. They have Brown at wide receiver, but we all know who Colorado is. They have Deion Sanders, and they have a lot of extremely talented playmakers. They have Shedeur Sanders closing in on 1,700 yards. They have Travis Hunter. They have Horn. They have a very deep wide receiver core. This is an interesting game because it's two teams that have two different strengths. When you look at the team stats, you have Kansas State. They average 31.4. They throw for 185.2. They run for 252.2, and they're only giving up 19.6 points a game. They win the game based off of their defense and them running the ball. Colorado just beat one of the best rushing teams in the nation, UCF. They beat them. So can they play Kansas State the way that they played UCF? For Kansas State, can Kansas State play Colorado the way that Nebraska did? I don't think that they have the physicality that the Cornhuskers had, but can they model their game plan the same way? Colorado, they're awful running the ball. Kansas State, can they play zone coverage? Can they play man-to-man? Can they force Shedeur Sanders to make mistakes? Can their D-line, with only 3 to 4 man rushes, still get pressure on Shedeur Sanders so they could drop a lot of guys in coverage? Can Colorado shut down the run game? This is going to be a fun game, and I think it's going to be a high-scoring, close game. Colorado, they average 31 points a game. They throw for 349. They only run for 80.6. That's pretty bad, but Kansas State doesn't have the best secondary. They're giving up 262.4 yards through the air. There's going to be a lot of open guys for the Buffaloes here, and Buffalo's defense much improved over last season, only giving up 23 points a game. This is going to be a fun game. This is going to go back and forth. I have Kansas State avoiding the upset, winning this one 31-27, but I will be the first one to admit this is the biggest upset alert game to me here because I would in no way be surprised if the Buffaloes win this game. If they do, they find themselves right next to Iowa State and Utah in the driver's seat for the Big 12. So that's my 7 games, our top 7 matchups that could potentially be on upset alert for Week 7 of the 2024 college football season. And make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. If you have any comments on these games or anything else, drop them below and I will respond. Thank you.